Hey guys, if you're like me, then you just might be a huge fan of that classic raw tube amplifier tone. And if you're also like me, you want to get that awesome saturated tube tone at a reasonable volume for practicing in your bedroom or laying down some tracks in your home studio. And if that's the case, then I put together a list for you of what I feel like are the best budget low watt tube amps available this year. Now, each one of these amps deserves to be on this list for various reasons, and I'll tell you why I feel that way, as well as give you a solid sound demonstration of each one. Okay, I'm Dan, this is Guns and Guitars, let's get started. Here's to you guys. Man, this cup sure has seen better days, hasn't it? Every time it makes a trip through the dishwasher, it comes out looking a little bit worse. See, in my house, we have two types of dishes. Dishwasher safe and ruined. Okay, let's have a look at these amps. Like I mentioned before, each one of these 9 low watt tube amps really deserves to have a place on this list for various reasons. And the point of this video isn't for me to necessarily crown a winner, but for you guys to be able to make an informed decision on which amp is gonna give you the tone and features that you need for your bedroom practice or home studio recordings. So I'm gonna rely on you guys to let me know in the comments which one you feel like is best for you and why. Now, to keep this demo as fair as possible, I'm gonna be demoing all these amps through the exact same speaker cabinet. That 1x12 cabinet that you see back there, I built myself last week for less than $50. If you haven't seen it, check out that video, but it sounds awesome and it's perfect for keeping a nice level playing field between all these amps. I'm gonna be miking that cab up with a Sennheiser E906, and we'll be using the same placement for every amp. I'm gonna be doing 0 post-production processing with the exception of a smidge bit of reverb to weten up the sound a little bit, but I'm gonna be using the exact same setting copied onto all 9 amps. And lastly, I'm gonna be using the exact same guitar, playing the exact same riff, and using the exact same instrument cable. Now for the instrument cable, I was gonna be using this Mogami Gold instrument cable, and these have been awesome cables for my home studio, but I recently discovered a new cable. This is by a company called Speak Friends on Amazon, and as I was reading through the specs, I realized that these two are the exact same cable. They both use the exact same 24 karat gold plated Neutrix connectors, and internally they are exactly the same with a 20 gauge oxygen-free copper core and a PVC impregnated shield for quiet operation and 0 cable memory. The only difference is that this is an 18-foot cable for $60 and this is a 20-foot cable for $30. So who else wants a studio grade cable for half the price? I know I do. And so I'm actually thrilled that Speak Friends agreed to sponsor this video, because this is what my channel is all about. Spend less, play more. Let's get that high-end tone on a low-end budget. So definitely check out the link for this cable in the description below, and you guys know that I would never take a sponsorship if it wasn't a person or product that I truly believe in and use myself. And I will be using this cable for this demo and for all my home studio recordings from here on out. I also only take sponsorships from companies that are willing to hook you guys up as well, so down in the description is a 10% off coupon code just for you guys. Also for this demo, I'm gonna be recording these amps perfectly clean and with the tubes pushed into overdrive, because both tones are extremely important when we are talking tube amps. First up on this list, we've got the Biyangs Wangs VT1RH. Biyangs Wangs. I feel like there's a dad joke in there somewhere, but I just don't know how to do it without offending someone. This amp deserves to be on the list because it is the cheapest, most basic, bare bones tube amp that you can buy. So if you are just looking to get your feet wet into that awesome tube saturated tone, then check out this little 1 watt amplifier. It's very basic, very bare bones. 2 12AX7 tubes, 1 12AU7 tube, master volume, master tone, on-off switch, that's it. And while the tube tone on this isn't absolutely stellar, it is a good step in the right direction, especially for the price. Okay, next up on the list, we have the Wangs Mini 5, which is the big brother to the VT1RH. Now, this one costs quite a bit more, but for good reason. You've increased the wattage from 1 to 5 watts, so this thing gets nice and loud. You could even use this to rehearse with a band if you wanted to. But the coolest thing about this amp are the features that you get that you won't see on any of the other amps in this demo. One being the 3-band EQ, and in addition to the two 12AX7 preamp tubes, the 12BH7 power tube, you also get a 6Z4 rectifier tube, so this one comes equipped with a rectifier as well. Best way that I can describe this tone is boutique. Unlike a lot of the other amps that are modeled after other popular models, this one kind of just does its own thing, and it does it really well. Both the clean tones and the overdrive tones are very beautiful. Okay, bringing it back to the more budget-friendly end of the spectrum, our second cheapest tube amp that we're looking at is the Monoprice Stage Right 5-watt amp. Now, for just a few dollars more than the Wangs VT1, you get a couple of really cool features. One, you'll notice this is a combo amp, so it has a built-in 8-inch speaker, which I find absolutely worthless. In my opinion, an 8-inch guitar speaker just doesn't really cut the mustard. That's why, again, for this demo, to do this amp justice, I'm going through that 1x12 cab. But the other really cool feature is if you can't decide whether you need 1 watt or 5 watts, this amp does both with a built-in attenuator. And lastly, this amp is modeled after the Fender Champ, so if you are a Fender Champ player,
like a champion player,
then you definitely want to check out this amp. Probably noticed after listening to this demo that both the clean tones and the overdrive tones of this amp are very Fender Champy. So if you like a Fender Champ, then this amp is an excellent choice.
Just champing with the boys.
Okay, I have a confession to make, you guys. The next 3 amps that we're gonna look at on this list are actually not true tube amps. They are tube hybrid amps. And what that means is that they have a 12AX7 preamp tube to get that awesome tube tone, but then they use a solid state amplifier for the power stage. Now, what that does is that gives us this awesome tube tone at a wider range of volume. So these get nice and loud. They are loud enough to keep up with a band. If you were to plug it into a 1x12 or a 2x12 or a 4x12 cab, they get plenty loud. Now, I know that tube amp purists out there are gonna tell me that these don't count as real tube amps, and I have to agree, but they sound so freaking good and they're so affordable that I really feel like they deserve to be on this list. So let's have a look at these 3 tube hybrid amps. Okay, first up on the tube hybrid list, we have the Joyo Atomic. Now, I love this little guy because he is modeled after the Vox AC, and the tone that you get out of this is very Voxy. The cleans are nice and chimey, like you'd expect from a Vox AC. And the overdrive channel on this thing is just perfect for that bluesy or classic rock overdrive that you'd expect to get from a Vox AC. Now, this Joyo Bantamp series comes with a couple of features that you won't see in any of the other amps on this list or in this class in general, and that's built-in Bluetooth so you can jam along with your favorite tunes, and an effects loop. So if you do want to jam with a band live, you can run your effects through the loop post-power amp. Now, the Joyo Bantamp series is very extensive. They have tons of models that model all kinds of different amps, but my 2 favorite are the Atomic and the Zombie. And the Zombie has been super popular because it models that screamin' Mesa Boogie overdrive tone. Now, the clean channel on this amp, in my opinion, lacks a little bit of character. It is very clean and very clear and would make an excellent pedal platform, but in and of itself is not that interesting of a clean tone. But what it's lacking on the clean channel, it more than makes up for on the overdrive channel, which just screams. I freaking love the tone that I can get out of this little amp, and I can't believe it's so good for its price. Last up on the hybrid list is the Orange Micro Terror. Now, this amp is modeled after the Orange Tiny Terror, which was an extremely popular all-tube amp, so they came out with an affordable hybrid option. This amp just has tons of character, okay? Unlike the Joyo Zombie, when you play this one clean, it does sound like a tube amp. And this amp really sings when you crank it into overdrive. You get that awesome high gain British tone that we've all come to know and love about Orange amplifiers. All right, let's go ahead and go back to actual, true tube amps. Next up on the list, we have the Mooer Little Monster AC. Now, I love this amp because, like I mentioned before, I'm a huge fan of the Vox AC, which this is modeled after. But unlike the Joyo Atomic, this one is an all-tube amp featuring a 12AX7 preamp tube and an EL34 power amp tube. So with the circuitry, we are much truer to the actual Vox AC platform. The best way that I can describe the Mooer Little Monster series is headroom for days. These things can go so loud before you start to oversaturate the tubes. It is incredible, which makes them excellent pedal platforms, but also you still can push them into overdrive and get a very powerful sounding tube tone. For the controls, you have a gain and a volume, so you can overdrive that preamp tube at lower volumes if you want to. And for EQ, you have normal and top boost like you would find on a Vox AC. And then there's a mellow or thin switch, which is basically a bass cut switch. And while this amp doesn't feature a tone knob or any EQ knobs, those two switches are actually really useful for shaping the tone. This amp, the Little Monster BM, is modeled after the Fender Bassman, and this amp just barely made this list because I'm honestly not a super huge fan of its tone, but that's not Mooer's fault. Mooer did a great job of cloning the Fender Bassman tone. It's more just personal opinion because I've just never been a Fender Bassman kind of guy. I've always felt that they sound just a little bit dull and lifeless. I'm more of a Blues Junior or Hot Rod Deluxe kind of guy. I like a little bit more character. But I know that the Fender Bassman has a super loyal following, and if you're one of those people, feel free to read me in the comments if you disagree. But this little amp is great if you like that Fender Bassman tone and you want that same headroom for days. Check out the Mooer Little Monster BM. If you guys have been following my channel lately, you know that recently I've become a huge Blackstar fanboy. So I'm warning you now, you need to take my opinion on this last amp with a grain of salt. But I really feel like this Blackstar HT-1R Mark II is the total package when it comes to a bedroom practice or home studio recording low watt tube amp. Now this is by far the most expensive tube amp on the list, coming in at $299 for this combo version. However, what I recommend you do, and what I wish I had done, is buy the head-only version for $249 because I just don't feel like the built-in 8-inch speaker is really all that valuable. What is valuable on this thing are the 2 foot switchable channels, and in addition to that, 2 foot switchable voicings for each channel. So if you want to practice in your bedroom without setting up your full rig, you can still punch in and out of clean and overdrive tones using a foot switch with this guy. Also on this amp, you get Blackstar's patented ISF EQ, where you can lean more to British gain or American gain, and you get a built-in reverb, something that you won't see on any of these other amps. Lastly, the biggest selling point for me is the built-in USB recording interface. So if you don't already have a recording interface and a microphone and you want to do some home recording, then paying a little bit extra for this amp just makes more sense because you'll be saving money on that interface and microphone. But what I really love about the Mark II series from Blackstar is that they come with that boutique style clean tone and that super high gain crunchy overdrive tone that I just absolutely love. Like I said, I really feel like this is the full package deal, but you are paying for it at nearly $100 more than any other amp on this list. Now, if after seeing and hearing these amps you still are unsure about which amp is going to get you the tone that you're going for, then check out that next video in the playlist where I've rearranged all the sound clips so you can hear all the clean tones back to back and all the overdrive tones back to back without me interrupting to give my opinion. That should help inform you about which amp is going to get you that tone that you're looking for. I'm Dan, this is Guns and Guitars. I will see you in that next video.